Welcome to In the Middle. I'm Vykky. I'm a wife, a mom, and a leader shaping some of the world's most beloved brands. This is the podcast for all of us figuring it out in real time. In 20 minutes or less, let's get in the middle of it all. I'm so glad you're here. Hey y'all, welcome back to In the Middle. Thanks so much for coming back. We have another really good conversation on tap. Before we jump into it, I'm drinking another Americano. This is like my go-to for sure. Today I'm using the Christmas Blend Blonde Roast Espresso beans. That's another limited time offer. And I put a little brown sugar cinnamon syrup to jazz it up. So I'm feeling caffeinated and really excited about this conversation. Today we are going to talk about adult friendships, how we make them, how we nurture them, and sometimes how we end them. And the fact that no one really prepares us for the weight that all of that carries. I am coming off of the heels of an incredible birthday trip. I just recently celebrated my 40th birthday, and this conversation is that much more timely because it is top of mind for me how blessed I am. I had an opportunity to just take stock of the people who were physically there with me, as well as friends who sent well wishes from afar. And I needed more than one hand to count the people who have been in my life, who are still deeply in my orbit, that have been in my life for over 20 years. I have one friend, we've been friends for 35 years, and that I never take it for granted, but I don't know that until recently I actually sat back and said, wow, how blessed am I? It is so great to have people who have seen you through multiple seasons and still sticking beside you. So to my friends who are watching and listening, thank you so much. Thank you for your consistency, your deep friendship, your support, your advocacy, your transparency, how you pour into me and how you pray for me and encourage me day in and day out. I never take you for granted. I'm grateful to God every day that we get to do life together. So thank you. So today I want to have this conversation because I learned recently that over 50% of Americans have shared that they struggle with loneliness and that they feel alone. And a significant portion of that group reported that they don't have one close friend. And coming off of the heels of what I just shared, it really just stopped me in my tracks to think, if I plucked all of those people out of my life, how different my life would be, the decisions I make, the places I go, the food I eat, the makeup I wear. I mean, truly, like, friends add a very nice layer to your life, and they bring, it's almost like building a recipe to a certain degree, right? Every friend brings a seasoning or two to make this beautiful dish. And it breaks my heart to hear that there are so many people who can't look to one person as their close friend, potentially outside of their partner or family members. And so today I want to have a conversation, and I want to open up space for anyone who is craving community, who is maybe questioning whether or not the work behind friendship should be this hard, or even how to get started if you've recognized, like, hey, I don't have a close friend and I want to change that. I want to create space and maybe offer some advice and things that I use in my day to day on how to build, nurture, and when it's needed in friendships. So, and of course, in my normal model, I have my 3 truths, and we'll work through all of those today. I'm going to do my level best to keep it as one episode piece, but what we're learning, and my amazing producer, Tati, have learned that sometimes the topics are so meaty that we have to break it up into 2 parts. So we'll see, but I'm going to do my best to try to keep it in one succinct episode today. So my first truth is making friends as an adult is awkward, but it's possible. I don't know that, like, when I was in high school, you have your friends, you're making your plans for college. I truly thought that I would be friends with every single person that I was friends with in high school today. And I'm doing pretty good. But there have been some friendships that have fallen along the wayside. And I think initially you go away to college, you do your best to keep in touch, and then you start building your college friends. And then it's harder to stay in contact, and then you see each other. And sometimes it's a little bit awkward. Other times It's like nothing, you never missed a beat. And that's always great as well. I guess as I'm navigating life, I've realized that it's okay for friendships to run its course. And nothing has to happen. There doesn't have to be this like calamity or one instance where someone offended another person, then you've severed the relationship. Sometimes it just runs its course. And I would say that a lot of friendships are for seasons, and a lot of friendships, which I realize now as an adult, that some friendships are based on proximity. You were in school day in and day out with people, and so it was easy to get those constant connections and drumbeat moments with these people. But once you move on and you're in different cities and you're in different churches, it's harder to stay in contact. And so, what I want to say, especially to the younger people who are listening, who are maybe getting ready to go into that transition, you're headed to college or you're getting ready to leave college, if a friendship falls to the wayside, don't necessarily look at it as a failure, right? So there are going to be people that you want to keep a relationship with, and we'll unpack that a little bit later in the episode. You have skills and you'll have tools to use to continue those relationships, especially those that are going to be long distance. But if you have 10 friends in college, if 10 years from now you have three, you're still doing pretty good, especially when we look back on that statistic. So make sure you're being kind to yourself and you're not running yourself ragged, going through the paces of trying to keep the same frequency of touch points and staying in touch as much as you did when you were in proximity together. So as you're thinking about like, hey, I'm going into this new city, I'm going into this new season of my life, and I'm craving friends. Once you get out of college, it's harder in the same way. Dating is a little bit harder when you get out of having that consistent access. But I'd say that you still have spaces where you can organically nurture friendships. Some of the feedback I've received from people who struggle to make friends is that it's awkward, it's weird. Like, do I just walk up and say, hey, do you want to be my friend? That works for my kid. Jordan never meets a stranger. She will play for 30 minutes with someone at the playground. And I'm like, who is that? Oh, I don't know her name. And I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. But it's so simple for kids. But I think in the same way, for us as adults, if we don't overthink it, it can be pretty similar. So look at the environments you're already in. At work, you certainly can make friends at work. Now, there is a little bit of a caveat for me, being mindful of becoming friends with people who report to you, because that can get a little sticky if you need to do any performance coaching or if you have to separate someone. The lines can be blurred and you can kind of blur your opinion of them if they start to be a deep friend. So I would enter that with caution, or at least establish some really, really deep boundaries as you start to see we're nurturing a really good friendship. So having boundaries there. But your peer group, people in different departments, if you find common ground, let's say you both have the same hobbies or you both like to travel, there may be things that naturally bring you together that you can have a shared bond over that would in turn develop into a friendship. In the same way, when you think about your church or if you're a part of a volunteer organization, I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and so I have nurtured a ton of friendships through my sorority. I know I likely have people who went to HBCUs and those who went to PWIs. If you went to a PWI and you aren't as familiar with Black Greek letter organizations, we have graduate chapters. And so I know often at PWIs, when you graduate, your connection to your sorority is still there loosely, but there isn't an ongoing commitment in the same way in Black Greek letter organizations. After I graduated from undergrad, I moved over to a graduate chapter and we continue to serve our community. We pour into the undergrads that we're responsible for, and we continue to nurture our friendships and relationships at the graduate level. So that has been a really great opportunity for me to continue developing friendships and relationships with women in my sorority. And then, like I said before, volunteering. going to your local food bank, helping in a women's shelter. That's another way to, you're already there in a space where you know someone else really enjoys volunteering. That's another way to create a common bond and find new friendships. One other way that I have heavily been leaning into since we moved to Seattle is using Jordan as my matchmaker. The mom friends that I've developed here really are like my core friend group here. They have been just a light for me and my family. They have jumped in to help with babysitting. We always have play dates going on. We've done a women's Bible study at my house. And so I am so grateful that I've been able to use my daughter as a way to make friends because, again, it's so easy. Our kids are in the same grade, some in the same class. We are at the same Christian school. And so I know that they're believers. And so it just, a lot of the sort of questions about like-mindedness wasn't even something that we needed to discuss because there were so many commonalities that just popped up naturally. So I would encourage you as you are venturing out to make friends. No pressure. I think the part that I love about meeting people is just meeting people. I love hearing people's stories. I love to hear what makes them them. And so if you keep your expectations low and you go in it with the intent of just discovering and learning, something that I have uncovered is that I like being the connector. So if I can help someone meet somebody in a different organization or someone has a problem they're needing to solve, if I can make that connection, that feels great. And I do that by meeting people and really listening to people's stories and staying in contact with them. It doesn't mean that I'm talking to every single person on a weekly or even monthly basis. There are some people that I just check in with, a couple of times a year to see how they're doing, what's the new thing they're working on, how their family's doing. And it gives me enough context and keeps them top of mind if opportunities pop up. So I'd encourage you to just aim for connection. Don't try to seek out a best friend. A best friend will be very apparent and it happens over time in the same way that mentorship does actually, right? So you have to get those reps in, but keep the expectation low. The last thing I'll say on that is I think in a microwave generation, we want to go deep quickly. And I'd encourage you that use your wisdom and discernment before you are spilling your guts to a practically new stranger. It doesn't mean that they aren't trustworthy, but I'd encourage you just to allow them to earn your trust in the same way that you need to earn their trust. And so when you are navigating especially hard things, lean into trusted sources. You can bring this new friend along, but make sure that you feel really safe and you aren't trying to force something prematurely. So we've talked about how to make new friends and how to kind of get out of the awkwardness of that. I want to talk a little bit about when it might be time for us to end the relationships. And I don't take this topic lightly. It is not lost on me the hurt that you experience when you have to end a friendship. I have had to end a friendship and it was still very hard, even though I knew it was the right thing to do. And I have not necessarily had someone end a friendship with me, but maybe I was ghosted. And so I get it. And I don't know that we talk a lot about it, especially when it's nuanced. I think if someone does something egregious, it's very easy to be like, okay, yeah, we're done here. That friendship is over. But when it is potentially a slow drip, small paper cuts where it feels very subjective, you can maybe sometimes feel gaslit. It is harder to make the decision on whether or not to end it. So maybe I'll start with like the gaslighting of it all. You have to be honest with yourself. And I find that especially when you've invested so much time, it's harder to end a friendship because you think about the investment. I think you probably the same part of your brain that doesn't want to end a romantic relationship because of the amount of time you've invested is likely the same part of your brain that doesn't want to end a platonic friendship. But what I've realized being on the other side of it is that you can't allow a sunk cost fallacy to keep you in a place where God is moving you from. And you have to have the courage to say, this relationship doesn't serve me anymore. It doesn't mean you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? You can reflect back on past times and think fondly of them. But the person they are today in your life and the person you are today is different. And that's okay. And maybe 15 years ago, you thought this person was going to be in your life for a lifetime. But now, with more information, more experience, you've now learned that they were here for a season. So, especially for those of you who are questioning whether or not to end a very long-term friendship, I would encourage you that if you can, if you feel safe, if you feel like it would be healthy for both of you, it may warrant a conversation. It is hard for me to say you should ghost someone that you've been a friend to for 25 years. That's hard. You have probably seen so much together that I would encourage you to have the conversation and keep it I statements. This is how I feel. This is my experience. Don't allow them to discount your lived experience. Your feelings matter. I would encourage you to go in it with a clear goal in mind. If you are looking for behavior changes, that's a different conversation than to simply say, Susie, I can't do this anymore. I don't feel good when I'm around you. Whatever the conversation is, whatever the language is, but you need to be clear with yourself first before you have the conversation, especially if you are calling to end it. If you are wanting to give them an opportunity to remedy the issues, I think raising it as soon as possible. I would not let things fester, especially for long-term friends. It's not fair to you and it's not fair to them. So call it out, make it plain, give them an opportunity to fix it, and have some accountability for yourself and for them. There are opportunities where you and someone could have been so aligned in so many areas of your life. And as we grow and as life happens, you start to see that misalignment. That may be one of those moments where you say, okay, I think our paths are going in different directions, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you don't love the person anymore. It doesn't mean that you don't want the very best for them, but you're walking and moving in different directions, and that's okay. And so I would just encourage you, in the same way that you would want someone to lead with kindness and grace, extend the same thing to that person. When I was kind of working through severing a long-term friendship, I struggled so hard. I did not make the decision lightly. I cried about it. I was sick about it. And my husband, who is my very, very best friend, he simply asked me one question. He said, if you met them today, would you be friends with them? And I said, no. It was a game changer. And maybe today, if you're sitting in the same seat and you're struggling with a decision, ask yourself that. If you met them today, would you be friends with them? And once I had that answer, it made it very clear the decision I needed to make. And I'm thankful for him just being present enough to ask me that simple question. It really unlocked something in my brain that gave me the courage and the confidence in the decision I was making. On the other side, when you're meeting new friends, and I think this is similar to the dating pool, I don't know that, I mean, I'm sure ghosting was a thing when I was dating, but it just didn't have a name. But I find that in friendships that are maybe newer or not as deep, people just kind of disappear. I had a woman in my life who I would still say she's a friend, maybe an acquaintance at this point, but I had noticed that I was reaching out, and she'd get back, a week later, and I get it. Like, we're all busy and slammed, and so grace abounds. And I would try to make plans, and it was like, well, yeah, that sounds great, but there wasn't follow up. And it took me a couple of times until and this is what I love about text messages. It was a whole bunch of blue on my side, and there wasn't much on her side. And I had to take a second to say, wait, Vykky, what's happening here? Are you being ghosted? And it hurt. Like, I can smile and kind of joke about it now, but it hurt because I didn't have one specific thing that I could pinpoint to explain why we were where we were. And I sent like probably one final text that was essentially something like, hey, I'm not sure what's going on, but I hope all is well with you, praying for you, love you so much. I hope to talk to you soon. And that's probably the last thing that I sent. And I don't know that I ever heard anything back. And yeah, I just have to kind of just say, well, that friendship is over. So if that's happened to you and you don't know why, our brains love to put things in a box. We love, we hate cliffhangers, right? But sometimes we just have to accept that for that person, they didn't have maybe an interest or desire to close the loop. And you have to respect that. And so, um, I hope that that helps you and at a minimum helps you to not feel alone. It happens, I would say, to a good number of us, and we don't talk about it enough. So, yeah, I hope it encourages you a little bit. The last subject I'll have on ending friendships is actually a little bit of a spinning the block on your friendships. And I had a friend in my life who, again, was one of those friends that I thought was a lifer. And then some things happened and we fell apart. It was devastating. That was my first real friendship breakup and it wrecked me. And across the years, we both have had major milestone things happen in our life. And oftentimes she'd pop up in my mind where I am like, gosh, I wish she was here for this thing. I'm getting emotional. And so it was hard. And we were not friends for like 10 years. And I felt like she missed so much out of my life. Uh, but God is faithful. And in the last 2.5 years, in a very random way, and I want to do an episode. I haven't talked to her about this, but I want to do an episode about spinning the block on friendships because I think this conversation doesn't happen a lot. And so I'm going to ask her to be on. And this is my way of asking you. I'm not going to say your name, but I hope that we can have a conversation in the future about our experience. And so, but God brought us back together and it's not how it used to be. And that's okay. But we are in communication. We're talking, we're encouraging each other. And gosh, I missed her. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that we both were at a place in our lives where we had capacity to have a hard conversation, to be vulnerable and transparent with one another, and to want to rebuild. And so, if you're in that situation today and there's a friend that you're longing for, and I don't know, maybe she's liking your pictures here and there, I don't know, but if there's space for you to renew the friendship, maybe this is your sign to do that. Whew, y'all. I was not planning on that. I did not. I thought that was just going to be something that I just like shared. I think I just see, I'm going to have to get myself together. I just see God's favor and grace in that. And I'm grateful. Let me take some coffee to get myself together. Okay. All right. So that was ending friendships and potentially spinning the block on friendships that we thought were ended. My third and final truth is maintaining friendships. And it requires a lot of intentionality and nurturing. It is not going to come easy and it takes work, but it is really good work. And when it's healthy, it is worth it. So I think I shared at the top of this episode, I've been really blessed to be able to say, like, I have 6 to 7 people in my life who I have been friends with for on average 22 years. One woman has been in my life, Crystal. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Crystal and I have been friends for 35 years. It's unreal. It is unreal. And you don't think about it when you're just doing life and just living. But man, like I am so blessed. When I looked around my birthday dinner and I had new friends there, friends that I've made here in Seattle, as well as friends that I've been connected to for over 20 years. I just feel really, really blessed. And I would say that it is a little mixture of luck and being blessed, but I am not going to discount the amount of investment that we all have made in our relationships. And so, I'm trying to get it together, y'all. And so I want to share some practical things that I use to keep my friendships up. If my husband is watching, I know he's gonna eye roll. Marco Polo. Marco Polo is not sponsoring this podcast. They should, because I am a super user, and it has been even more helpful now that I live on the West Coast and the majority of my close friends are on the East Coast. Marco Polo is an app. I think it was really popping during COVID when people were really craving connection. I don't know how it's doing. I would be devastated if Marco Polo went away tomorrow. But essentially, it's an app where you can go asynchronously and do videos. And it's just like the day in and day out. I do it on my commute hands free. Hands free. And I get to just sort of drop a stream of consciousness in my different friend groups. I have friend groups and one on one chats on Marco Polo. My Marco Polo feed is long, but it is just a really great way to just share and stay connected to my friends and I'm just talking to the ladies on there. I don't know that, guys, my husband's like, men don't use Marco Polo. I don't know that that's true, but it does over index with women for sure. But I love it because it's, if you think about it, it's like, how often are you and your best friend available at the same time you have capacity to talk to FaceTime? It doesn't really happen like that. And as I get a little bit older, my memory is a little sketchy. And so I can go back to a video to say, what did she tell me to buy? When did I need to book that plane ticket? And all of it is right there. And so if you, especially for those of you who have friends in different seasons of their life, maybe they have a brand new baby. And so they really have to be specific about when they can get on and talk. Marco Polo could be a really good way for you to stay connected. You get to see each other. You do video, you can do audio, you can drop pictures. It's a really fun app, and an app that has really helped me to stay connected. I'd also say for Marco Polo, in 2019, I lost a really, really close friend, and her name was Stasha. And we also used Marco Polo, and I have all of her videos. And this was not supposed to be an emotional episode, y'all. But I have all of her videos. And so when I am missing her, when I want to hear her voice, her laugh, I get to go back through Marco Polo to see her. And it's different when you just have pictures or you have like a voicemail. When you can put those two things together, it is such a gift. And so we had shared with Marco Polo that she passed away, and they allowed us the ability to download all the videos. And so I will always have them. And I hope one day to share them with her kids. And yeah, so Marco Polo will always be the GOAT for me for that. So that's one example of ways to stay connected to your friends. I know we're all busy and things can easily slip through the cracks. I calendar everything. I calendar my friends' birthdays because, of course, I know their birthdays, but we get busy and things slip through the cracks. And so I don't want to ever forget a birthday. And so it's on my calendar. It's annual. And so if you don't have that set up today, take some time and do that today. It's one less thing that you have to commit to memory. I have their birthdays, I have their kids' birthdays, their wedding anniversaries, any major milestone. For friends that I'm not in constant communication with, I will put, like, if someone pops in my mind, I will reach out to them. I have now, the older I get, the more I've sort of accepted that, like, when someone pops in my mind, I am assuming the Holy Spirit is putting them on my mind for a reason. And so I have now developed the discipline of, like, I'm going to stop everything I'm doing and I'm going to send a text just to make sure, because you have no idea why they popped in your mind. And I'm going to do everything that I can do to be obedient, to reach out and say, hey, girl, hey, dude, thinking about you. I hope all is well. And then I'm going to put something on my calendar to remind myself to check back in with them 3 weeks from now, a month from now, whatever that cadence is based on what they've shared. It might be a week from now if I actually have caught up with them and they're in the middle of crisis. I will put it on my calendar. Again, I think sometimes that can feel cold or like, why do you have to put that on your calendar? I'm busy and I'm human and I have a lot on my plate, and I'd much rather get something to pop up on my calendar to say, check back in with Billy, than to have the best intentions to do it and then I miss it. So I'd encourage you to do that. Outside of birthdays, anniversaries, those big milestones, it's the little things that count too, right? So if you're starting to see a pattern of your friend saying like, I'm feeling burnt out, send them my episode on burnout. And then also maybe drop a little handwritten note in the mail, or send them a text, or send them flowers, or whatever is their love language. just do a little something to make them feel loved. You might even want to just send like a delivery to their house of like groceries to say like, thinking about you and sending them some sweet things for them to just feel a little loved on. It's especially hard when you can't pull up on your friends. Like that's something that pains me, is being so far away. I can't just pop up and give them a big hug. And so I do what I can with using delivery, Instacart, things like that to try to make them feel loved. One of the things I will say about nurturing friendships is that you have to be mindful of how you're pouring into one another and being mindful of the reciprocity there. So if you find that you're the one consistently reaching out, you're the one that's constantly pouring out, again, if this is someone that you want to keep a relationship with, be honest, share with love and kindness, ask them if they have the capacity for feedback. I always like to do that, whether it's at work or in the home. Hey, do you have capacity for some feedback? I want to share something, especially when it's hard. And say like, hey, I noticed that I feel like I'm doing a lot. Are you going through some things? Or maybe you can like recognize like, hey, I know you're going through some things and I'm happy to be the one to try to keep this thing going, but I need a little bit of love too. And I think if it's a friendship that you really want for a lifetime, you have to be willing to be transparent and vulnerable and share what you need out of that friendship. I would also say on the topic of nurturing friendships, it's quality over quantity. Like I know that I share that I probably have 6-7 women in my orbit that I consider really deep, deep friends. I think I'm the exception and not the rule. And so if you have that one friend, please count yourself blessed, because as you heard earlier in the episode, there are a lot of people out there who don't even have the one. So nurture that friendship. It doesn't mean that you can't have others, but feel really blessed that you have that one person that you can truly count on. Yeah, y'all, I think that's it, man. Friendship is hard. It is, it's like any other relationship. It takes nurturing, it takes intentionality, it takes time, it takes transparency, it takes selflessness, it takes accountability. And so you have to be mindful of where you're putting all of those resources and time, because candidly, people will be taking time from you if you want a friendship. That's a part of the trade. That's a part of it. I think having friendships adds such color and flavor to your life. It's absolutely worth it when it is a reciprocal feeling, when you are being poured into in the same way that you're pouring out. A friendship really makes life that much better. So let's unpack our 3 truths. Making friendships is hard and awkward, but it's absolutely possible, especially when you can broker it organically. Ending friendships is tough. Your feelings are valid, but sometimes the decision is necessary. And in my experience, you might just be ending it for a season. So potentially keep that door open in the back of your mind. And nurturing friendships, that's my 3rd truth. Like, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to be able to pour into other people in your lives and have them pour into you. It's absolutely worth it. You are deserving of friendship and love and community. And I pray that this time together has helped you, encouraged you, validated things that you are feeling. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of deep, healthy friendships. And I hope you have those today. All right, friends, I'll see you next week. Bye. Thanks for listening to In the Middle. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend and click subscribe so you never miss an honest conversation about life in the middle. I'll see you next time.